Hello friends, today is 14 January 2017 and we are going to discuss the articles of The Hindu. Before starting the discussion, let's have a look at the articles which we are going to discuss. First article is regarding the piece of advice given by the RBI's Governor Urjit Patel to the government related to government need to maintain the macroeconomic stability. Why it is important, we would discuss it, and we would also discuss some important terms of the economy. This This article is also important, not so important because the internal matter of Pakistan is covered here, and not so important for the UPSC's perspective. Social activists are going missing there, and some issues are discussed here. This article is related to Obama's speech. Obama is going now, and you also know that Trump is going to join the office on 20th of Jan. So Obama gave his farewell speech. Not so important article, but we would extract some important points related to democracy which we can use in our answers. This article is not important because you know today is Saturday, and on Saturday ground zero comes, not so important for the UPSC's perspective. So before starting the discussion, we would discuss what is the utility of this article later, and important prelim question may come on this article. So what is context? Reserve Bank of India's Governor Urjit Patel focused on this thing. He said that there is a vital importance of protecting the domestic macroeconomic stability. So he advised the government should maintain the macroeconomic stability. What is macroeconomic? Macroeconomic is also a branch of economics, but here we deal with the big economic indicators. Means we deal with the general economic big factors like interest rates, GDP is going increasing or decreasing, what is the productivity, what is the national income, this kind of things. And on the opposite, on the contrary to this, microeconomic deals with the personal indicators like what is the per capita personal income of a person, and personal choices of a person, this kind of things. What is the fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit is very simple term. When a government total expenditure exceeds the revenue it generates, excluding the money. This point you have to remember, excluding the money. means when government income is not so high, but it expends more than the income. That's why आमदनी अठन्नी खर्चा रुपया, in the Hindi proverb you can say. What is fiscal stimulus? Fiscal stimulus is an increase in the public spending. When government reduces the tax rates, then the government's expenditure on the public spending definitely would increase, and there is a reduction in the level of taxation, as I say. So that's how the government can do the fiscal stimulus. And what is the fiscal consolidation? Fiscal consolidation is when governments adopt the policies in which government increases the tax rates, government collects more money from the people, and that's how the government can reduce the fiscal deficit. So it is the reduction of fiscal deficit, you can say that it is called the fiscal consolidation. So why it is significant? It is significant because the union budget is about to come, and you know that government is under pressure because there is a voice generating from the various sections of the society. They are saying that government should focus on the fiscal stimulus, as there have been the cases when some sections of the news are saying that the jobs have been decreased, and government definitely would like to bring the economy now on the same track as it was moving on previously. And external environment is also adverse. There is a lot of uncertainty, and you also know that world economy is also going slowing down. This is thing, demand from the various sections, government should raise the demand. And the next, the article says that if we are borrowing now, like if we are, you can say that for generating the for bringing more money into the market, if we are borrowing from the market, then this means that our future generations would have to bear that burden of the borrowing which we are doing now. And also, if we are doing the government is doing the borrowing, then the funds will be also crowded out for the private companies, because now on the banks, if take the simple case, if banks are now giving the loans to the private companies, and now the government will say to the banks that give us the money also, we also need the money. So what will bank do? Bank's priority will be to give the more money to the government as compared to the private companies. So that's how there will be less money for the private companies. So this thing is called as crowded out. And what is the effect of this? The effect of this is that because private companies will be having the less money, so they will establish the less manufacturing units, and our GDP will also slow down. So this is crowding out has the direct effect on our economy. What is way forward? A lot of things now the article is suggesting that a government should build the infrastructure. Government should focus on the public infrastructure, and because when government is boosting the public infrastructure, then it will also boost the productivity, and our reliance on the bill of import would also be decreased, and air quality would also be improved. So these are the direct benefits if government is focusing more on strengthening the public infrastructure. And also there is a high risk that because this point talks about the independence of the RBI and banks. The article now says that government adopts a lot of policies like guarantee schemes and interest rate subventions. These schemes actually increase the burden on the banks and also results in the interference of government into the banks and hurts the autonomy of the banks. And also government when adopts other policies like credit guarantee schemes for the MSMEs and the other sections. So this is how it results in the misallocation of the resources, because government can better utilize these resources if they are not allocating these funds to the MSEs or particular sections from the elections perspective. Also it increases the government's liabilities. So what is the better solution? Better solution is that government should focus more on reducing the transactions cost. Also you know that how much like it takes to establish the business, because transaction cost is very high in India because there is lack of infrastructure in our country. So it also takes time to clear the projects, and also tax terrorism, which was also famous previously, and government should focus in these two things. First, it should try to reduce the transaction cost, and also should try to optimize the tax rates. So this was the article, very important article. We can use the points of this article in our mains answers also. Next is internal matter of Pakistan. Let's have a little bit knowledge about what is happening there in the Pakistan. 5 Pakistani activists, social activists you can say that, and one was very famous, Salman Haider. They have gone missing, and various sections of the society are saying that military and the state, they have the role, that's why they have gone missing. And also one common link between all these social activists was that they, you can say that, were active on the social media and they were challenging the extremist narrative propagated. They were countering the propaganda which is being spread by the extremists, and that's how they have gone missing. And also Salman Haider, which was famous, he also raised the voice for the Balochistan people because human rights violations are happening there. And this is not the first time. The important thing is this is not the first time the writers and activists they have gone missing. And whenever they went missing, and you can say that the suspicion needle comes on the military, because there is a doubt in the Pakistan that military military do not bear the dissent. That's how military counters the assent. And social media, you also know that in Pakistani the media is not allowed, media is under pressure, and Pakistani government curbs the media. Social media was an important tool to express the points, to express the freedom of speech, but still now this way, if the activists are going missing on, then there will be fear on the social media websites also, and indirectly they are curbing the social media websites now. So you can say that directly they are targeting the free debates there, and it must be wake up call for the Pakistani state. And also, you know, Pakistani previously, you can say that they have used the violence for their own purposes, for serving the purposes, but this policy now has backfired. So a lot of vague challenges, like liberal people now face there in the Pakistan a lot of challenges. So Pakistan government need to take the bold measures so that a signal must be sent to the extremists that government is not going to bear the this kind of acts of crime. Before this, we left one question. Okay, we will do it later. Next is Obama's speech. He said a lot of good things about the democracy, those things which we can use in our answers. So democracy is not all about election. Democracy means continuous citizen partnership. It's way of living the life. We have to comment on this thing. First, a lot of useless things, like Obama gave the speech, and the people were overwhelmed by the speech given by the Obama, and it was a terrific speech. He combined the many messages. It was a ritual that in the farewell speech, the president, again, it was a symbolic, like that president again becomes, a former president becomes the citizen when he gives the farewell speech. So useless things, not important for us. What is important for us is some points given by him. He said that democracy can't be taken for granted, and also if there is an act of indifference, like if the people, or you can say that ruler, do not you can say that exercise the democracy, then it is act of betrayal by the ruler, and people must punish that ruler. He was maybe indirectly talking about the Trump that he need to take care of while ruling the USA, and there must be the perpetual participation by the people, and the ritual of citizen participation is only perpetual machine that keeps the democracy as faith and action alive. And next is democracy is not a flawless machine, but yet it works. Various thinkers have said a lot of things about the democracy. Winston Churchill also said that although democracy is not the best rule of the government, but still it is, although when till then, if no other option is there, then the democracy is the best. This kind of, you know, quotes we can use in our answers. So what is democracy here? Not democracy, some good points. And democracy, if you have to write the definition of democracy, then just use the very simple definition. It is the government by the people, for the people, and of the people. So it is the simple definition of democracy. And whenever you write about democracy, then also write the two things like procedural democracy and substantive democracy. Procedural democracy is related to elections, and substantive democracy is related to way of life and how the people come together and decide the issues. So this is more important, substantive democracy. Now, if there is a threat to the democracy, then the Obama says that then bring the more democracy, then the threat to the democracy can be countered. He is also giving the example here of Islamic State. To counter the Islamic State, we need the more democracy, because this is the only way we can counter the frustration which is now there in some youths of a particular society, and that's why they are getting encouraged by the terror organizations, and they go in Syria and Iraq and they fight the war there. So bring the more democracy so that no person is getting frustrated or isolated from the society and get encouraged by the terror organizations. This article was like, you know, very few points were important in that. And next is article from the Economic Times. It is an article related to education, very important article. We would also discuss this. Fixing our schools requires optimum leveraging of existing funding and systematic changes to achieve both empowerment and accountability. We have to comment on this. So education article, Economic Times. The article first says that the funds which the government has spent on the education, it has varied from the 3.55% to 4%. Although many governments have claimed that they would spend the 6% if they are getting elected, but no government spent the actually 6%. But still, the important thing is here is that out of the total spending on the social services, the spending on the education is actually 50%. So this is very important. And also, now the article says that spending only the funds is not important. What is important is what is the outcome of the funds spent. So this is very important. The article says government spends a lot of funds, but government doesn't monitor the things and how those funds are resulting into, what is the result of the funds spent by the government. So very important. The very important role, like teachers has very important role to improve the education sector. They are the central component, and so we must give some kind of independence to the government. And one survey was held, and it was found that only 79% of the teachers are qualified, and there must be we must have the teachers accountable to the policies they adopt, and accountability must be here. We are discussing on the next slide. And accountability must not be the central system. Accountability must be to the local level, to the school administration and the school management committees. And also, government can start the reward system. If some teachers are performing good, then government can reward those teachers. And if some are lagging, then those teachers can be given the training. And if some teachers are continuously or consistently performing bad, then there must be punishment. Government must take the punishment against those schools and also those teachers. And also the teachers must evaluate themselves very frequently from using the system PISA and TIMIS. These are the only websites using these websites teachers can evaluate themselves. And also there is need to focus more on the teaching methods also. It's not about knowledge. It is not about teachers are not having the knowledge. Certainly teachers are having the knowledge, but it is about how they teach to the students. Teaching methods also must be improved. And also syllabus. Article talks about giving the independence to the teachers so that they can define the syllabus according to the ground realities. They can have the tailor-made syllabus or solution of the things, of the problems which the school is suffering from. So these were the few points, and we can use these points in our essay also. Here, teacher need to have the greater autonomy and assessment and accountability. We have discussed all these things. You can read. You can download these slides from the website onlyis.com and you can read these slides. So next article is about the electoral funding, state funding of the elections. So this is also very important article. The opaque and gargantuan nature of the election finance is at the root of the twin evils of corruption and the black money. How the state funding of elections can help to curb the misuse of money power in elections. So now, the role of money in elections started after 1967. And in 1970s, 80s and 90s, now the use of money in the state elections, now it has become very important to use the money, otherwise the candidates fear that they can lose the elections. And after that, now first it was feared that first it was there was a common belief that the elections, the role of money in the elections only before elections, but now it also has become certain that also after elections also the MLAs and MPs are being purchased for this in the no vote confidence, and also when the elections for the Rajya Sabhas are being held. So here it is, several examples of vote of non-confidence, and after election there is a role. And also now, the technological revolution, like the campaign also takes place on the Facebook and the social media sites. So that's how the money is also being spent on the social media websites, and it is becoming very, very difficult to get out how much money the government has spent on, political parties or candidates have spent on their elections. So money is omnipresent, money is present everywhere in the elections process. And group interests like land mafia, real estate developers, mining interest, corporate lobbies, they also give funds to the political parties and also gives funds to the candidates because they expect that if the party to which they are now currently giving the funds, if that party is coming into the power, then the party would adopt the policies which are more favorable to them. That's why they give the funds to the political parties and to the candidates also. That's how, because the election needs a lot of money. Common man can't enter the election. Common man can't, you can say that, get elected on their own terms. So they need the support, they need the money. That's how the role of dynasties or oligarchies they are continuously increasing. If we can take the case of India also, dynasty is very dominant in some sections, some parties. So next is, it is very difficult to estimate how much funds are spent by the particular candidate or party in Lok Sabha or Vidhan Sabha elections. But still, according to a survey, it was estimated that 10 crores are on an average are spent by the candidate, and in Vidhan Sabha in assembly elections 2 crores are spent. And after that, the actual limit is 28 lakhs for the state assembly constituencies and 70 lakhs for the Lok Sabha constituencies. So see how the rules are being violated there, and restriction is very high. But the important thing is that there is no restriction on the political party. If political parties want, they can spend any amount on particular candidate for the particular candidate. And the next is very important thing. Now the political parties are not transparent from where they are getting the funds, and they also just need to disclose the amount which they are getting above 20,000. So they have to take that amount using checks, and they have to disclose that amount to the election commission. But political parties violate this rule because they say that we have got all the amount below 20,000. You can take the case of BSP got or received a lot of funds, but when election commission asked for the details, then party said that we have got all the donations below 20,000, and that's how political parties exploit this rule. So now what the article suggests? Government article suggests that now this is simple thing, like we talk a lot of things about bringing the economic reforms, but no one talks about bringing the political reforms, and because vested interest like MLAs, ruling party or MP or MLAs, they now have the political interest or vested interest to maintain the status quo, because they think that if some change is coming, then they will not be elected in the future. That's how they want to maintain the status quo. Now the article suggests that state funding of elections is very important, and it can bring the corruption, or it can curb the corruption. So how the state funding can be done? Now the writer suggests there are two schemes like MP-led and MA-led. In these schemes, MP gets the 5 crores in a year, and 5 years the MP gets the 25 crores. But the article says that according to estimate, last year 53,000 crores were, you can say that, underutilized, and now these funds can be utilized for funding the elections, because the article says that currently the MP-led scheme is against the separation of powers also, because executives need to spend the funds, and legislature must not spend the funds, because legislature duty is to make the laws. And next is He says the MP-led MLA-led schemes must be discontinued, and the funds which they were previously allocating, and these funds must be used for funding the state elections. So now he gives some data like 20,000 crores would be collected if we are not giving funds to the MP-led and MLA-led schemes, and there are 553 Lok Sabha seats, and if we are dividing the 20,000 crores by 553 seats, then we get amount 36 crore, and 36 crores it is enough to, you can say that, held the elections in a particular constituency, and that's how we can allocate the funds. And now he also suggests that we need to give the funds to the candidates, not to the political parties, because there is no intra-democracy in the political parties. If we are giving whole amount to the political parties, then also it will be misutilized. So there is need to give these funds, or after dividing the funds, to the candidates only. That's how the state funding can take place. And after that, he also suggests that it is not like that if state funding is taking place, then the candidates can't get the funds or can get the donation from the various sections. Candidates can still get the donation from the various sections, but there must be restriction that any amount of donation they are getting, they must get that donation using the checks only, so that a procedure of transparency can be established there. So it is very important thing. What is way forward? This idea is feasible, very much feasible, and definitely, certainly there would be resistance from the incumbent, the ruling MPs and the MLAs, or even opposition MPs also, incumbent MPs. But still, we need the political will, and also the pressure must be mounted on the government also, and on the parliament also. A public opinion must be mobilized, because if the people are pressurizing the government or pressurizing the elected officials, that's how we can bring the reforms. The only permanent solution is to strike the foundation. So today is enough in today's discussion. So thank you very much for discussion.